We're here with the Whiskey Wonders podcast. My name is Johnny Dent. I want to be Johnny Cash, but I'm in debt. I don't have no cash.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Whiskey Wonders podcast. It's Corey Bowser, Corey G in the building, and we got Reagan, the realist, back in the building with us. What's up, buddy?
What's up, guys?
And the fucking best guest that I probably had on my show so far, the big dog, Dean Thomas. What's up?
No, the best guest. I'm honored. I'm honored that you would say that, man. It's my pleasure to come out here and join you fellas.
All right. We appreciate it. My favorite guest, I'd say, for sure.
Yeah.
No offense to my other guests, but fan.
Gotta cover all odds, you know. It's like, nah, we love you guys all equally, man.
Big fan. From the Treasure Coast.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. Treasure Coast. In fact, I'm so St. Lucie that I was in Walgreens the other day, and I bought them shirts that says Port St. Lucie. I bought two of them so I could represent. I was like, yo, I got to represent because I'm all over the country. I was like, I got to represent, man. I got to keep St. Lucie on the map.
I'm going to say, we'll see you at the UFC event one day with the Port St. Lucie shirt.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I did it. Like, in fact, like I'm going to be at the one in New York, so I might rock it there. Just wherever, man. I'm always going to try to represent Port St. Lucie.
Right.
What colors did you get them? You know, like pink or like
I got the it's like the I always try to get them Easter egg colors.
Yeah.
I got the little aqua green.
yeah.
Pastel.
Stands out really well.
Yeah, for sure. But I was like, everybody gonna know what this is. They gonna know it's like a gas station T-shirt, but still it's Port St. Lucie, and I gotta represent, man.
That's so funny because she gets on me the other day. I was at Publix. I bought a shirt from Publix, and I didn't know you could do that, first of all. And it says Fort Pierce on it. The same shit, just said Fort Pierce. I'm like, she makes fun of me for it, but I'm like, I'm gonna rep this fucking shirt everywhere.
I tell you, like, when you live here, it's one thing. Like, you kind of hate it. You're like, Port St. Lucie, it sucks, nothing to do, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you're over. But when you go out and see the rest of the world, you become proud of Port St. Lucie. You become proud of what you get.
Homesick, you know?
Yeah,
like,
you get, definitely you get homesick. I mean, that's why a lot of people come back after they leave. But for me, I'm proud of it. So I'm always telling people, I'm from Port St. Lucie, man. That's my spot. And I know the other people. And I don't know, like Rick Ankio, I know he grew up here. Yeah, and I used to do a show with him, but I think he's kind of like, I don't want to tell nobody that.
Right, yeah.
And I know
because they usually they'll round you out to the next biggest city, especially because if you look up yourself on Google, it says fighting out of Port St. Lucie. Yeah. Usually they try to say West Palm or something like that. Say something that's more relevant.
Absolutely. In fact, and I keep forgetting, and I'm glad you guys reminded me because I'm going to email them today right after the show. When Jillian Robertson fights, they always say she's from Coconut Creek, Florida.
Right.
Because when she got in the UFC, that's where she was training out of.
Yeah.
But I keep going, I got to get them to change that to Port St. Lucie because I will not allow that to happen.
Right.
Port St. Lucie on the map.
Yeah,
for real. She's been in Dan's garage for
she's been in Dan's garage. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's been around. You know,
for sure, yeah.
She came up. So, I mean, she's in Miami now, but I'm still gonna make them say Port St. Lucie.
Yeah,
right? Port St. Lucie to the.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. It's because there's one here, man. So you train and grow up from here, but they just try to put you group you together because the original ATT is in Coconut Creek.
Yeah, that's in Coconut Creek.
So they figure you fight out there, you're like you from there, so we're gonna post you there.
And that's what it was. But the reality is that she's from here.
Yeah, exactly.
She went to Westwood.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Or as she would say, Wetwood.
Yeah,
I went to Wetwood.
I love that.
Well, parents would say, I say it was County talk.
Man,
if you know Wetwood too.
Yeah.
From here. Even there's a couple fighters that are like Steve Tomahawk. He's been on the show. He says fighting out of Fort Pierce and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
he does. He puts Fort Pierce.
I would definitely have to come back to my roots for sure.
Yeah, for sure. There's just something about being from here. I don't know. It's just. And because I remember when Port St. Lucie was, I've lived here since probably before you guys were born.
Oh,
you know, I moved to Port St. Lucie in '89.
That's the year I was born.
Yeah. So I moved to Port St. Lucie in '89. So And I just remember how it was. I mean, there was still dirt roads. There was no tradition. There was nothing. It was just.
You had Port St. Lucie one house and a mile and a half.
Yeah. And then a mile down the road. And then there was only, there was Port St. Lucie High School opened up the year that, I think the year either I moved here or after I moved here.
Damn, it opened up in 89?
It opened up I think it opened up in 90.
Yeah.
It's either 89 or 90.
Right.
Damn.
So, yeah. So it was crazy, man.
You're deep. You're definitely deep. You had you're the first American top team you had over here, right?
Yeah. I opened up the first American top team here. It was obviously the first MMA school in the area. Yeah. You were and that was in 2005.
You were all over the place. I think you were I remember you being in the mall at one point.
Yeah, but I first opened it up on over by Malaluka.
Malaluka was Leonard or something.
Yeah, Leonard. It was on Leonard Road, on the corner of Leonard Road and Malaluka.
Yeah,
right on the corner. It was right next door to a deli, and it was in between a deli and a hair salon.
Yeah, those are some wild days.
Yeah, and I remember we used to bang on them walls at our hair salon. They would bang back. Because the place was 600 square feet. Yeah. So it was tiny. Yeah. And we would hit them walls, and they'd be so mad coming over can you stop hitting the walls? You're scaring the ladies.
I'm surprised you haven't gone through some of those walls.
Oh, yeah, I know. Especially some of the big boys we had, like Mario Ronaldo would train there, and Deuce Gardner was training there. So, man, it was.
Those are some times, man. Before everything was so big and sanctioned and shit like that.
It's mainstream, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean for sure. So I mean, that's
2005. Either you knew about it, or because it wasn't how popular it was back then, especially in 2005. It was you either saw it and you liked it and you wanted to do it, or people were just or they don't get it at all. Like Spike TV, when they started picking up UFC and they did offer free fights, you're like, oh man, you can watch UFC for free on Spike TV type shit, and people either were like, what's UFC or what's MMA? Right. It wasn't as popular or mainstream as it was now.
Yeah, well, that's why that Spike TV saved me. Yeah. I mean, I was doing all right in terms because it was a small. My rent was get this, it was $600 a month. So I was yeah. So I was doing all right in that little spot because it was so cheap, no overhead, And then. In 2006, I did The Ultimate Fighter. And in 2007, it aired, and then I just blew up because it came on TV. So I blew up, and then I was like, all right, we moving.
Yeah. Is that how you met Dana? Through The Ultimate Fighter?
No. I've known Dana, honestly. So when Dana and them bought the UFC in 2000, it was either 2000, 2001. 2001, in that same time.
Yeah. With the Zuffa guys or whatever.
Yeah. When Zuffa took over, it was UFC 31, and then the very next UFC, or it was UFC 30, and then the very next UFC, I fought in it. So they hired me. That's how I met Dana. Was I was on their second show that they ever had.
Damn.
Yeah.
Do you remember who you fought in the UFC?
Yeah, BJ Penn. In fact, a guy came up to me yesterday. He was like, "Yo, man, I remember you fought BJ." I was like, "Dude, that was 20-something years ago."
That was a brutal fight.
Yeah, I was a kid. That was 20-something years ago.
Right. Because I was telling them earlier, it was because I said, UFC wasn't as mainstream. That was used to be a top 5 or top 3 fight at the time.
Yeah.
And then thank God Michael Chandler and them came along and then knocked people out.
I know, right? Dude, I gotta tell you, man. For years, I'd have to look up on the screen, and I'd be watching fights with my friends, and they'd always play that clip of me getting knocked out by BJ. I'd be like, oh man, can y'all stop playing the clip? And finally, I was like, all right, whew.
Yeah.
Play no more.
Yeah, sometimes that's just, hey, hop right in it, I guess. I mean, not the ideal way of hopping right in it.
Yeah. I mean, that's something you got to understand.
And BJ Penn still had hair and stuff.
Yeah.
Man. That's funny.
Well, I mean, at the time, BJ wasn't that. I mean, he had only had one fight.
Really?
He was only 1-0 at the time.
Damn.
And his first fight was in the UFC against Joey Gilbert.
Huh.
And in fact, I was supposed to fight Genki Sudo.
Wow.
And he was replacing Genki Sudo.
So he picked up on short notice.
Yeah, he picked it up on last minute. So I was like, I was honest, I was the favorite. I was the guy. I was the guy because I had been fighting in Japan. I was all over the country. I had beaten Jens Pulver. I was the guy that they was like, yo, this is the guy.
Yeah.
And then I went out there and got knocked out. I was like, somebody.
Well, they say that too because especially when you're about to fight someone, you train for a specific fighter, for so long. You're like, oh, and you try to learn his game plan, and then out of nowhere, you're like, oh, he pulled out.
Was that a factor?
No, it wasn't a factor.
He
just caught me, man. He tricked me. I thought he was going to shoot the whole time, and he kneed me in the face. He tricked me. he didn't play fair.
Right. Yeah. That's how he got his name. I guess,
Yeah, you know, I made him famous.
Look over here. Come over here.
That was back in the days. Like I heard, I talked to Dan Donaldson. He's a guy on the show we talk about a lot. He told me a funny story about you guys, like in the early days of you guys fighting and having a gym.
Oh man,
the first fight you guys ever had, that I guess he didn't do it all correctly. He didn't get it sanctioned, and you guys did it in the mall, sold tickets. It was called The Smoker.
Oh yeah.
You got arrested.
Yeah, well, that was actually it was in in St. Lucie West. We had we were renting out a warehouse in St. Lucie West inside of a gymnastics studio.
Oh, okay.
So, and we had a cage in there and set up. So, like, they had split it in half, and we were on one half of it, the gymnastics studio on the other half. And he had his, and we did a show. I mean, it was a smoker. It was like all my guys versus Paul Rodriguez. Paul Rodriguez is also from Port St. Lucie. And he lives in Orlando now and trains like all the guys in Orlando. He's the hottest guy. I mean, he's they don't really talk about him a lot, but he trains. He trains. Phil Rowe and all the fighters from Orlando. But he's from Port St. Lucie, so his guys fought my guys, and for whatever reason, man, the cops just happened to show up that day,
right?
And they didn't say nothing at first, man. But the problem was when they showed up. I was like, yeah, no, this is good. This is a training experiment. And then this dude got knocked out right there. Oh, bow! Right in front of the cops, man. Bow! He face up, and I'm just like, I just put my head down. I was like, oh, man.
They started putting
and they were like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and investigate this, and we'll be back. And then, like, a couple days later, they called me. It was like, you know what? What you did was illegal. We're going to come arrest you. And they came and got me. Yeah.
Damn. That's funny how they called you, let you know. Like,
yeah, they called me and let me know. They were like, yeah, so get your stuff ready.
Get your socks ready.
Yeah, they were like, get
it
ready.
Don't run from us. Yeah. Don't go on a bus or nothing like that.
Damn. You called Dan immediately.
Yeah, I called Dan. I called Dan. I was like, because I had just fought too, because I was actually on I think I was on crutches when it happened. I think I was off by the time I got arrested because I had torn my knee against Kenny Florian. Okay, but I called Dan and was like, yo, man, I need you to pick up this money and bail me out.
Right?
Yeah.
Take all our money we made and
get me I was out, like, and then he bailed me out, man. He came and got me. But the jail process around here sucks, man. It's like, yo, I got the bail money. Why y'all gonna have me up in here for like 8 hours?
No, for sure.
Yeah, let me get out.
You're calling bondsmen and stuff like that?
Well, I didn't. That was the thing is I didn't call a bondsman. I just put the whole thing up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I had just fought, so I had money.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had just fought, so I had money. So I was like, Dad, get this money and get me out of here.
Bail me. Get me the fuck out of
here. Yeah, that's what I did.
It's like that Biggie Smalls lines, all the money I stacked was all the money for bail.
Yeah.
I was like, shit.
Damn, motherfucker, you fought. You could come with some bread.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Dan Donaldson is like the greatest thing that happened around here.
Yeah.
Honestly, he is. Like and I remember meeting him, man. I think I met him at a UFC in Miami, UFC Miami, when Matt Hughes fought Sean Shirk.
Oh man.
And we were out, and we were outside walking, and he was like, D. Thomas, and I didn't know him, but I was like, what's up? And then we just met there, and then he's like, I'm from Port St. Lucie, and I said, funny thing is, I'm about to move back, and I'm opening up a school. He's like, word. So then, man, we've been working together ever since.
He said he was the first person to sign up to the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Donaldson, first person to sign up to Dean Thomas.
Yep,
gym.
And he worked for me for years, and
That's
awesome.
He's
just been a blessing to the area.
100%. I fought on Rise card once, and he's showed this podcast a lot of love, man. Dan's and any fighter around here, he coaches them. He's really he opens his home to him, dude. The fucking guy.
It's crazy, right? Yeah. Like I try to go over there every chance I get and work with them guys a little bit and just show love.
He said you guys are brothers.
In
it.
Yeah, in it, brothers, in it.
Brothers, in it.
Yeah, I put him on that Top Boy. If you guys haven't seen that, y'all gotta watch that.
Yeah, he said you got to watch the show right now. You got
it's crazy. Yeah.
I had a couple questions for you've sat frontline to some of the most craziest fights of history, man. Like seeing these fights, gotta be frontline of them. What is that like experiencing those?
I mean, I'm kind of desensitized to it now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, after a while, and the thing is, I've been going to fights since the 90s. Since the before it was big and just watching it grow, and it's amazing now to see the progression and to go to an event and look out in the crowd. I'm in Vegas, and I'm just and then I'm looking around and I'm just looking. I see Tom Brady and all these guys at the events, and I'm like, man, this is crazy to me.
Would you have one your most memorable event? You know what I mean? Even from the 90s, is there one that stands out the most? A fight that you've seen or something that's
Well, like I said, I'm desensitized to it now. But I mean, I still can kind of be like, man, look at all these people here. But
Yeah.
the reality is that the one that the most stands out in my head is the one that I went to when I wasn't in the game.
Right.
It was when I drove to Birmingham, Alabama, and I watched and I paid for a ticket. I drove up there. I paid for a ticket. I stood in line. I sat way at the top, and I watched Mark Coleman get beat by Maurice Smith.
Oh yeah. That was
So like it was memorable for me because I was fighting at the time. I was fighting in these small little shows around here, and I remember standing in this line outside of Birmingham, Alabama, and I'm thinking to myself, one day I'm gonna fight, and these people gonna be standing out in line for me. Yeah, and I thought that, and like I manifested, I made that happen.
That was like your goal from there.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, the power of manifestation, man. Just like declaring something in your mind and to the world, and just allowing it to play out. And to me, I believe in that fully.
Yeah, definitely.
You were a scrapper too. Like some of your earlier fights, I could watch. I'm like, you were a bulldog in there. You get in there like in the phone booth and throw. You know what I mean?
Oh man, like I wasn't, I wasn't no punk. I wasn't. Yeah, especially early. Yeah. I wasn't no punk early.
That mindset. Yeah.
That fight with you and George. What's his name? George. Damn it, I forget his last name.
Was it Karakhanyan?
Yeah. That was a great fight.
Well, and I mean, that was actually my last fight.
Yeah.
And the reason why it was my last fight, and you said it was a great fight, the reason why it was my last fight, because that was the fight that I really knew that I didn't have it no more.
I see you could have pressed a little bit more.
Yeah.
But every time you pressed, your hands were so much better. You're catching them. It was,
right.
He couldn't. His body shots were fucking him up. He just kept kicking you in the leg the whole time, essentially. But I like that fight. I mean, that was one of the fights that made me realize, okay, he's staying in there. You were pressing forward the whole time. You were like, fucking.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, that was just like for me when I realized that I wasn't fully invested in the fight game, the competition part of it. And you have to be to fight at that level. You have to be
for sure.
And it sucks kind of because that was when I got out of the UFC. So I left the UFC in 2008, and then I had a gang of fights afterwards. I went undefeated afterwards, and then Sean Shelby was like, "Listen, if you beat Georgie, we'll bring you back into the UFC at 145." Okay. And then I go out there and I did that, and I was like, "All right, I'm not.
I can't do the small circuit again."
Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore.
Get a 4-game win streak to come back.
So I was like, I can't.
Because
that's gotta be tough too. Like the mindset to realize, like, man, it's like I just don't got it no more. Like especially like with like guys like Chuck Liddell, like when he was on his way out and like he was known for just knocking people out, then he's just getting knocked out and you're like, come on Chuck, just get one more knockout and end it. But then he's like, dude,
he had a glass chin at the end of that, man.
I know.
You could just touch him.
Boop, pluck him.
It was down.
But that's the thing, most fighters don't realize it. Like they realize it, but they don't want to accept it. They don't want to accept it. They don't got it. Like I'm just like every once in a while, Tyron Woodley would call me and be like, "Hey man, I got one more in me." I'm like, "Dude, you don't." I'm like, that's my dog, man. But like, if you look back at your progression, man, you don't have it, man, and you're only getting older. Like you just don't have it.
Right? Yeah, that's the thing is time is not on your side in this sport almost. Because even like Tyron Woodley, he won the title and then lost it, and then went on lost a couple. But this guy was just a champion, And it's like in the UFC, if you lose 2 or 3 in a row at the most, it's like a death sentence.
Detrimental.
Yeah, it is.
Especially now how big the sport has grown, because they're like, we'll find someone to replace you because there's so many fighters out there now.
I know, and that's what I'm afraid about with Kamaru Usman. Is that he lost and then he lost again. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why he's kind of picky about who he fights next. Right. He's got to get a guy
it's all politics now almost to the point.
Even Sean O'Malley was so picky for so long. That's how he got that hype, that name. But then every guy thinks if I could just get that one knockout, if I could just beat that one guy.
And if I just got to get one to get back on, then you lose again and you lose again. It's just like it ain't gonna happen, bro.
And you're always gonna be in the middle card because you might still get booked for fights. You'll be right on that middle card. Then you see yourself getting on like the main event of a free fight instead of a mid card.
And you start going slowly going.
Taking that damage, win, man. At that age too, trying to take the damage, build back up a 3-4 fight, man. That's at probably end of your contract even, and you're fucking done. You're beat up.
Well, that's why I always tell the young fighters, man. I'm always like, there's a window of about 5 years that you have that's going to be your potential. Right. You just have to realize when that 5 years is. Because in that 5-year window span, you have to kick ass and you got to fight everybody. And then because after that, you can't be playing around because after that, you don't get the chance again.
Right. The weirdest thing too nowadays is you don't even just got to kick someone's ass. You got to play the part.
Yeah,
you gotta be
yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
You gotta be well rounded, like, because back in the day, Tank Abbott just come out. And he's like, I don't give a shit about new jiu-jitsu. I'll punch you in the face and you get knocked
He'd have been
out.
a star today, man.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Tank Abbott would have been a star today.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, he was.
If it's just him in his prime.
Yeah, they would have loved him. Come out all fat, knocking people out. They would have loved him, man.
Because that's the thing. Yeah, he was just like whatever, drinking beer, just slam it, then go out there, just knock
I
someone
did
out.
Stone Cold. Fucking went to UFC for a little bit. MMA.
They would have loved it. They would have loved it. I mean, that's what it is, man. It's just because MMA fans can relate to that.
Yeah,
you know, he's
for
fighting
sure.
for us. That's our guy, and they can relate to that. And that's why they love Chuck in the beginning, because he was their guy.
Yeah,
yeah. I love Chuck. I just did an interview with him a few weeks ago in Vegas, and he's doing well, man.
Is he still rocking mohawk?
He still rocks the mohawk.
I don't see. That's like one of those things. I feel like I can hear my dad is like, "Cut your hair already." You know, it's like that, it's over with. But I mean, if that's your MO for so long, you're just like,
He'll be
hey,
laid
man.
up in at his funeral with that. They'll freshen him up with that.
I asked him about that too. He was like, "Yo, it's the only haircut he's ever really had."
He don't even know nothing different now.
He doesn't know anything different.
No,
That's all he's got.
I wouldn't even know what he looks like without it. You know.
With that, anybody that's like stands out your favorite or least favorite in the UFC that you've met, like some dickhead or. Because I mean, I seen this little thing with you and Colby.
Yeah, and that was Colby, man. The thing with Colby is like I've always been good with Colby. I've always been cool to him. Like when I see him, we would say what's up, and I'd always, even when he beat Tyron, I went up to him and was like, "Hey man, congratulations, man. You are a tremendous fighter." And I've always been cool with him. And then we had talked about because he was going to come on my show, The Dean Diaries.
Yeah, that's what I seen.
And we talked about that.
He called you like a towel boy or something?
And then he caught me off guard while it was like my first day on the job of the weigh-in show. It was my first day. So I'm trying to be like, all right, let me be good. Yeah. And he blindsides me with this attack, and I'm like, this dude. So yeah, I'm not a fan of Colby no more. Just for the reason that like he blindsided me when I was always good. I've always been good to him.
Yeah, he plays the villain really well.
That's his forte.
Think that's his thing. Yeah,
they almost kicked him out, right? Because he's a boring fighter.
I remember that. I mean, because I was at Top Team when that whole thing played out, and in fact, like his guy John Hartnett. John Hartnett is an old school, like under the radar type MMA guy. Never trained, but has always been around, like the manager. He worked for Top Team, and he was Colby's guy. He would write for Colby. He was a big-time pro wrestling guy, so he would write Colby's sticks. He would write, and he would tell Colby what to say and tell Colby what to do. And I remember being in the office with them, and they would always be going over different stuff. So, like, I was there during the whole time when that whole thing happened with Colby.
Wow. I couldn't imagine, like, training and, like, all right, man, good training. We're going to go work on your script, man.
Yeah. I mean, literally, that's kind of what it was. They was like, all right, we got to work on this. I mean, honestly, Colby's gotten better at it because I remember in the beginning, man, he was terrible.
Yeah, he was horrible.
Right.
Yeah, he was horrible.
Couldn't even talk shit.
He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it, but he's gotten better at it. He's gotten more comfortable with it, and he's, you know, once you start getting your catchphrases down, then it's a little easier to come up with new stuff.
And he came with he's got the role down. He's like, dude, I hate me. I get it.
He became the villain.
Like Chael Sonnen was really good at the time because like Chael Sonnen would just say outrageous things. You're like, why would he say that? That's crazy. Like when he first called out Anderson Silva was like the craziest thing ever, and he got under Anderson Silva's skin so much. He's like, I don't fuck all whoever you have lined up for. I want Chael Sonnen next,
right? And
it worked for his benefit.
Yeah,
and it was just because like Chael Sonnen wasn't going to fight Anderson Silva. Like he just won. I mean, he was on I think it was his 2-game fight win streak or something like that, and then he just calls out Anderson Silva, and then Anderson Silva like there's no way in the and he almost beat him too.
Yeah. But
the mind game and the promotion of selling tickets and trying to get in that role to get under people's skin and want to sell tickets, and that's your big payday now.
At the end of the day, it's entertainment too.
Yeah,
it's not just fighting. It's where it starts fighting, but then it gets to entertaining. So if you can play both sides of that, you know what I mean. You're in a good position.
Well, nobody's done it like Chael. Like no one has been able to benefit off of their mouthpiece the way Chael has.
Right, exactly.
I mean, he's still working. I mean, in fact, he got in trouble, and ESPN was waiting for that to clear so they could bring him back.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to actually work on the show with him on his first show back. And,
nice.
It was, I can't remember what event it was, but we worked the desk together at ESPN, and I mean, and Chael admittedly was like, yo, I'm nervous because I think everybody's looking at me because I got in trouble. And I was like, but he's such a good dude, man. He's just really good at what he does. Yeah. He's such a good person.
I've heard that actually because like you get the persona of him like the evil guy of the UFC, but like on the outside of it, he's really knowledgeable and he knows a lot of things and he helps people.
I mean, he's a character.
Really.
Like, so you'll be with him, like you'll be at the desk with him, and he'll have his glasses on. He'll be reading his scripts, his papers, and he'll talk to you, very soft spoken. soon as they say, and go, he takes his glass off. And yeah, he knows his role.
Right.
He knows how to play it.
Yeah, man, and that's like you're gonna be Kobe. You're gonna kicked out, or you gotta play the role.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, and Kobe played it well, like,
Yeah.
because he was always a good fighter, and I think it even helped him become a better fighter because it gave him a little bit more confidence and something to prove.
Right,
Because
like
if you're gonna talk all that smack, you gotta prove it. So I think that it made him a little bit more aggressive and said, all right, I gotta back this up.
Right.
So
Were
it
you
made him
there-
a better fighter.
Did you were you there during any of the Masvidal and his like and Kobe hanging out and like that whole
Like when they were hanging out or
Yeah.
when they had beef.
when they're hanging out?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that was that's sort of when you were like hanging out over there. You were
Yeah, for
American
sure.
Top
I
Team,
remember
right?
when they were homies, and
Yeah.
I always thought it was like a weird relationship because Masvidal is a G, man. Masvidal's a
Yeah.
street kid. It's
Right.
weird because like he rich, right? He's got money, but he's still like a street kid.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like a dude to hang out in the street.
Like he don't know what it's like to have money, even though
Yeah,
he's got it,
yeah,
you
for
know?
sure. He's a straight street kid, and Kobe's kind of spoiled, came up with a nice family. So I
Right.
always thought it was a weird relationship that what they had, but then I realized what this was about. They traded in a sense, and it was probably unwritten, but they traded. Kobe used Masvidal for clout, and Masvidal was using Kobe to learn how to wrestle because Masvidal at the time was like. He always thought that was his Achilles heel, wrestling. So he was like, I got to learn how to wrestle.
Right.
So he attached himself to Kobe and was like, we got to wrestle. And they would travel the country, go to different camps, and they became boys through wrestling.
Wow.
I mean, wrestling is a heavy knowledge to have, especially if you could strike too. I mean, because you got to be aware of a takedown. A good wrestler that could strike is a dangerous fucking.
Yeah, like you can learn how to take down. Was like, all right, what do I do now? You know?
Yeah, but that's the thing with wrestling is, so it's not necessarily the wrestling that's so great in MMA. It's the mentality of
Yeah.
wrestling. Just that
Yeah.
kill 'em attitude.
Right. It's
Right.
a little unorthodox too sometimes.
Yeah.
No, because you'll see guys in the ring that don't know nothing about wrestling, and then just give up their back, just try to get out of there because they don't know any proper technique on how to get out of there,
Right.
whether it be jiu-jitsu or wrestling. But it's like some guys just try to stand up and bang. Like even when Brock Lesnar, when he came in, like he was really good at it, but he was already a great wrestler. Like from
Right.
Minnesota.
I mean, he's fucking huge.
Yeah, but like there's like he had the wrestling aspect, but then sometimes they always said like there's like the old adage like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy versus a wrestler. It was like the worst matchup because they're gonna take the guy down and then he's gonna put him in the rubber guard and the wrestling guy's not gonna know what to do and now you're in omoplata or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Well, it kind of goes in waves on what's working and what's not. And I mean,
Right.
it just depends on who's doing it. But I tell you what about Brock Lesnar, man. When they realized he didn't like getting hit,
Yeah.
they had a field day with Brock Lesnar.
And he don't
Before
move
they
his head
knew,
either.
yeah.
Because you get that one, then he did one of these and kind of backed away. Like, oh man, he does like
Because
it.
when he first fought Heath Herring and Frank Mir, Frank tapped him out the first time, but the second time when they realized that he didn't like getting hit, they was like, give me Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they could stand in there for a
Yeah.
minute and just not get grabbed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yup.
But he's just a freak specimen too. That guy would run at you full blast. I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
280,
Yeah,
60
he
pounds
can
coming
eat
at
a
you.
bunch of hits. That dude's fucking chin, his neck is huge. He can
Yeah.
fucking eat all the punches in the world. That dude.
Yeah, he wouldn't go down, but he just didn't like it. He
Yeah.
would just like run from it.
Yeah, for sure. I do remember those.
So acting, how did that come about? First of all, that's another question I had. Like acting, I've seen you in like shows and stuff. Like, did it just formulate from like UFC and stuff like that, from being like commentator and stuff? Because now I've seen you in like shows and shit.
Yeah,
like, doing
well-
some, like, and you wasn't Tyrone Woodley recently was on one of the fucking what shows you were like I seen you with him or something.
Well, Tyron's done a lot. He's done a lot of stuff. Like he
Has
was
he?
recently. Yeah. Oh yeah. He was in Straight Outta
That's what it
Compton.
was,
Yeah, he was in Straight Outta
That's what it
Compton.
was.
Yeah, he was in that. He was in a bunch of episodes of Cobra Kai. He's done a lot. He's
Oh, damn,
he's
wow.
done a lot of commercials. He's done a lot of stuff.
So how'd you get
So-
involved in that?
I got in acting because I was ahead of the curve in terms of like knowing what the MMA industry was going to be. I didn't know it, but I was ahead of the
You had a
curve.
feeling.
Yeah, I had a feeling that you had to have good presence in front of a camera. Like that was part of the job.
Yeah.
Like not just going out and fighting is not enough. Like you have to have good presence in front of a
the
camera.
after post interview talk. If
Yeah,
you know,
talking, and then and for me, like I had started doing that, like in terms of like doing interviews and stuff like that. Like for whatever reason, like, can you interview this guy? And I was like, all right, and I didn't know what I was doing,
Right.
and I didn't really have the presence, so I was like, maybe I should start acting, and then I Palm Beach State,
to learn to do interviews better.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I started going to Palm Beach State, and I took an acting class.
Oh, damn.
And then it just went from there. And then I started doing improv, and I really liked it. And then it just really took off from there.
Because I see the comedy thing you're doing lately is fucking hilarious. By the way, it's like you're like I seen the what do you do, Steve Smith?
Yeah, Stephen A. Smith. I do that. And I do a Dana White.
Dana White's hilarious.
Yeah, I do a Bryce. I do. Yeah, I put them on the shelf for a while, but I'm gonna bring them back out.
Yeah, I seen Dan was telling me he did a couple of like videos in his backyard and shit.
Oh yeah, I did a video in his backyard, man. That really took off. It was I did a Herb Dean video, and I didn't even say nothing. I didn't say anything. I just moved like him. I had the wig, and I moved like him. And those everybody loved it. I mean, it might have been my most popular one, and I didn't even say a word.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And Dan's backyard too.
Yep. Right in his backyard, right in that dingy old cage in the backyard.
And the amount I've had some fucking fights in that damn cage, man. For sure.
I bet.
He had some scrappers come through there, man, and then just training with saying in the backyard of that fucking his house. You know what I mean? Like his neighbors gotta fucking hate him for sure.
I know. I mean,
they're the hairdressers. You know, it's like, hey man, stop with the fighting.
Yeah, the cast of characters that have been there. I personally had brought over at one time. It was Jillian Robertson, Hannah Goldie, and Greg Hardy. In their training in Dan's garage.
Damn, Greg Hardy been there?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big old boy.
Yeah. Oh, he was a big dude.
I didn't like him when he was a cowboy, though.
Come on, man. Come on. You like any other sports?
Yeah, I try to. Yeah. I mean, I do a sports show on ESPN, so I kind of.
You gotta have to.
Well, for 7 years, I didn't know anything about sports in terms of being on the show, and that was kind of my shtick. But I'm like, all right, that's getting a little old now, so I should probably. So like this year, I've been watching football and I've been paying attention to basketball. I've always liked watching soccer because my son plays soccer.
Right. Okay.
So I try to keep up with other sports.
You got a team? If you got to pick a team.
For football?
Yeah.
I know y'all gonna hate me for this. Okay. I'm a bandwagon guy. I'm kind of a bandwagon guy, but the Dolphins.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah,
but you can get away with it being for Port St.
I
Lucie.
know.
You know, you can get away with it. Yeah.
But the reason why I'm a Dolphins and an Eagles fan because I'm originally from that area, and I got people in Philly. But the Dolphins because I did a celebrity softball game with them over the summer. I became friends with some of them. So like I root for them now.
Yeah, that's cool.
I got a bunch of my friends are Dolphins fans. So like I'm a Cowboys fan. So secondary though, I'm like I'll fuck with the Dolphins. I hated them for a long time, but
you're a Cowboys fan.
I am a Cowboys.
Oh
fan.
Man, you gotta hate Dak Prescott.
He
blows it all the time.
You're like sucks.
I'm like man, he's always blowing it.
Man, he does fucking blow it, man. Every year, I don't know what the fuck it is. He's good sometimes, and then just fucking.
In the big moments, man, he just chokes.
Yeah, he's not consistent.
God, man.
He's writing a letter to Roger Goodell telling him how he feels about it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everybody and their mom that's a Cowboy fan right now for sure. It's for the past few years.
That's funny.
Yeah. Do you got any shows coming up that we could look out for? Or anything like popping off that?
Yeah. Well, I just started a new show. It's kind of a show podcast, but I like to think of it more of a show. It's called Fight Court. And it's Fight Court. Yeah, me and I have a female from Peru and another gentleman from Miami, and then Ryan Quinn, who used to be a Bellator fighter, and he was also a coach at ATT when I was there. He used to coach the amateur fighters, and it's like a debate show, but it's more fun oriented as opposed to like serious. Because no one wants to talk about MMA in a serious way.
No, that's how tension started getting.
Yeah, no one wants to. So, but we kind of have a good time, kind of clown around. So I just started that on YouTube called Fight Court, but. Other than that, man, I'm just still grinding. Sirius XM, ESPN, UFC.
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah, stay working.
Joe Rogan just did.
Did the Rogan podcast with them.
That's huge.
Yeah, because I did it in his studio, that was my second time on there.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're the 54th person to be on Joe Rogan. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. 54th person to be on Joe, or I guess his Joe Rogan Experience number 54.
Okay.
Episode number 54 is and then you're on there, I think, later on with like Matt Serra and a couple other people or something.
And I was on Matt Serra and John Rollo.
Yep.
And it was a lot of fun, man. Like, and his new studio is just beautiful. It's out in Austin, Texas. like way kind of tucked away, like security, you know. And then, but when you get in, it's just like, what in the hell? It's like walking into a spaceship because you know Joe's all weird. And shit, so he's got mushrooms floating around everywhere. Like,
he got black light posters hanging.
Yeah, that's I swear. Like and like statues of monsters all over the place.
Crazy. I mean, he's got to have the coolest studio ever.
Yeah, it's the coolest studio ever.
A bit different coming on the Whiskey Wonders, huh? Yeah.
It's you know what? Honestly, man, the passion is the same.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I'm about. Like all the fluff and the smoke and the mirrors, like that don't impress me. Right. It's the passion, and that's why I do this game is the substance, the passion, and that's why I do what I do.
I mean, we do it straight out of the house. You know, we had a studio for a while. We use the studio sometimes, but we like to do it straight out of the house, kind of to the core.
It's like the comfy. Roots. Yeah, because he's like, it's weird. We're going to a house. I'm like, I'm sure Joe Rogan's got one in his house. Yeah. You know, it's cool.
I mean, he was at a studio. You know, a fucking spaceship studio.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it starts somewhere, right? It starts somewhere, and but the passion has to be the same wherever you're at. It doesn't matter where you're at.
For
the
sure.
substance and the passion got to be the same. But so like y'all doing y'all's thing, I'm like, all right, we in there.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate you coming, man, and at least showing Treasure Coast some love.
Oh yeah, man, till I die, man. Port St. Lucie till I die.
Dude, all day. We love that too. Like I love to say fucking Dean Thomas from, and like, he's from Treasure Coast. You're like, he's from Port St. Lucie. You're like, no, really? I'm like, yeah. I got him come on my show.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Anything I can do to represent, man, I got y'all. Like, because I know you've been hitting me up. I don't know which one of you guys. It was hitting me up, and I was just like, I got my brain all over the place. When y'all say, all right, I got to do this. So I'm glad we made this happen.
Yeah, I know you're busy, man. You got fucking several shows,
Yeah.
So we just appreciate you coming on this one and showing some love. And I really wanted to get on here and talk some shit about Treasure Coast, Dan, and give some people around here a little bit something to listen to, rather than like what they ask, like. The MMA talk is cool and stuff, but the roots from where you're from, the people that know you from here, the stories about you getting arrested for fucking Dan's silly ass throwing an unsanctioned event, it's people want to hear that shit,
Well,
or at least we do around here,
And I always say, so fighting is kind of regional. There's like regions of the country or the world that just produce good fighters. If you think about it, I mean, obviously Dagestan and like Rio de Janeiro, I mean, those stand out. But then there's like towns like Lafayette, Louisiana, where Dustin Poirier, Daniel Cormier, Alan Jouban are from. Wow. And then just other like some places in like small towns like Massachusetts. And I got to tell you, Port St. Lucie has the ability to be one of them places.
Yeah, I believe it.
It really does. Like I've always thought that. Like even before, there was a young man, he passed away years ago, but there was a young man out of Fort Pierce named Chad Saunders who could have been that dude. He could have been that dude, man. And like it just got caught up in the game and it didn't work out for him, but he could have been that dude. But there's a lot of like just natural raw talent that comes out of this area, and Port St. Lucie has been a fighting town since I've lived here.
For sure. This guy gets in a fight every weekend,
I believe it. I believe it.
Man, the Treasure Coast Cartel, man.
I believe it.
Yeah, that's the group around here.
I believe it.
Some dogs.
Yeah. I mean, Donnie Bush out here doing this thing. Yeah.
Fucking Tomahawks Townsend. Steve Townsend's been on the show. You got some fucking heavy hitters even coming up in the rise. You know what I mean? Cody Cook. There's some big dogs that, be on the lookout. You know what I mean?
I like these guys, and whatever I can do to help them to get them out there, it's going to be important for their progress.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, shit, man. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure, man. You guys are awesome.
Yes, sir. Fucking Dean Thomas, everybody.
Dean Thomas, guys.
The Pioneer.
Yeah.
UFC.
Treasure Coast.
Appreciate you guys, man. All love.
Yes, sir.
We got to do this again.
Appreciate it.
Definitely, man. Whiskey Wonders, we out. Love you guys.
Cigarettes, whiskey, and wild, wild women. They'll drive you crazy. They'll drive you